Ladies and gentlemen, every single day, you're either sharpening the blade or letting it rust. There's no neutral. The world does not allow stagnation because decay is baked into the fabric of time. If you don't push forward, the world pushes back. You can't negotiate with gravity. You can't reason with entropy. You can only confront it. And that confrontation demands something from the depths of your being that can't be faked, can't be borrowed, can't be inherited. It has to be forged in the furnace of struggle, pressed in the pressure of sacrifice, and refined by the heat of decision after decision that nobody claps for. People talk about potential like it's a gift. But potential is pressure. It's the burden of knowing you could be more, knowing that what you are today is an insult to what you could become tomorrow if you just had the guts to suffer through the process. This isn't about talent. Talent is overrated. This isn't about passion. Passion is fleeting. This is about resolve. This is about endurance. This is about being the last one standing, not because it was easy, but because you made the decision that you were not going to be broken, no matter how much it cost, no matter how long it took. What you do in silence will always scream louder than what you post in the spotlight. That grind, that repetition, that lonely work when nobody sees, when no one's asking, when there's no reward in sight, that's where character is constructed. That's where discipline is born. And discipline is the foundation of every meaningful transformation. Because emotion will betray you, excitement will fade, but discipline, when anchored to a higher aim, will guide you through the valley of fatigue and self-doubt, through every dark hallway where most turn back. Discipline says keep walking, keep showing up, keep suffering forward. There are two roads in life. One is wide, it's smooth, it's easy, it's packed with people. It's padded with comfort, and it leads nowhere. The other is narrow, it's rough, it demands everything from you, and very few choose it because it costs too much. But that road, the one carved by effort, stained by failure, lit only by the fire inside you, that's the one that leads to meaning. And meaning is the only thing strong enough to justify the suffering that life guarantees. You see, the go-hard mind said isn't about being angry. It's not about being aggressive or impulsive. It's about being unshakable. It's about possessing a seriousness of purpose that renders you immune to trivial distractions. It's about looking the chaos of life in the face and saying, I see you, and I will not flinch. There's a dignity in that. A courage that doesn't shout but roars silently in the choices you make when quitting would be easier, when compromise would be more comfortable, when coasting would be more convenient. You are not here to be average. You are not here to be a copy of someone else's laziness disguised as acceptance. You were built to wrestle with difficulty, to struggle with the weight of responsibility until you grow strong enough to carry it with honor. That's what it means to go hard, to sacrifice comfort for growth, to trade pleasure for purpose, to stop chasing applause and start chasing alignment with the version of you that demands your highest effort and your deepest integrity. The people who make it, the ones who rise above the noise, they all have one thing in common. They made a contract with themselves that could not be broken by circumstance. It didn't matter if they were tired. It didn't matter if the odds were against them. It didn't matter who doubted them. They kept showing up every day. They tied their identity to the action, not the outcome, because outcomes lie, outcomes delay. But action, consistent, focused, deliberate action, does not. It compounds, it builds momentum, it rewires the brain, and eventually it rewrites the story. When you commit to going hard, you make the conscious decision to stop negotiating with weakness. You stop giving excuses a seat at your table. You stop blaming your environment, your past, your circumstances. You take radical ownership of your time, your choices, your habits, your mindset. And from that place, where excuses die and responsibility is born, you begin to realize just how much power you've been giving away. See, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. You choose your suffering. You either suffer now through discipline, through sacrifice, through the pursuit of something bigger than your comfort, or you suffer later through regret, through stagnation, through a life spent wondering what if. One of those will make you. The other will break you, but you cannot escape it. You will suffer. The only question is what for? And this life, this brief moment between birth and death, it's not long enough to be passive. It's not wide enough to wander. You've got one shot to build something real, to become something real, and that requires depth, that requires clarity, that requires you to shed every false identity, every weak pattern, every inherited limitation. It requires you to become intimate with discomfort, to stare into your fears without blinking, to take the hits and keep stepping forward like every blow is forging a better version of you. Don't confuse movement with progress. Don't confuse noise with substance. Don't confuse applause with alignment. The world will hand out likes for illusions and ignore truth until it's undeniable. That's why you can't depend on validation. You can't live on external affirmation. You have to be driven by something internal, something spiritual, something so anchored in truth that storms can't shake it and silence can't weaken it. When you go hard, you don't just change your results. You change your relationship with yourself. You begin to see yourself not as a victim of life, but as a contributor to it. You begin to understand that excellence is not a gift, it's a responsibility, that your potential is not just about you, it's about what your example gives permission for others to become. Your work ethic becomes a sermon, your resilience becomes a testimony, your consistency becomes a lighthouse in a sea of chaos, but only if you go hard. Don't wait until you feel ready. You'll never feel ready. Start now, start broken, start afraid, start unqualified, start when it's inconvenient, start when the voices in your head tell you it's pointless. Start and don't stop, because growth doesn't wait. Opportunity doesn't wait. And destiny certainly doesn't wait. It's reserved for the prepared. It's attracted to the hungry. It bows only to the relentless. And every time you choose effort over excuse, every time you get back up when comfort seduces you to stay down, you earn something money can't buy and time can't erase. Self-respect. That's the real reward. Not the title, not the trophy, not the recognition, but the man or woman you see in the mirror, the one that knows you didn't quit when it hurt, that you didn't fold when it got dark, that you didn't take the easy way out when nobody was watching. Build a life that's too solid to collapse when the applause dies. Build a character that's too deep to be shaken when the storms hit. Build a discipline that's too sharp to be dulled by emotion. That's the essence of going hard. It's not about being better than someone else. It's about being better than who you were yesterday. It's about waking up with a mission and going to sleep empty because you left it all on the battlefield. Not because it was required, but because it was right. Because something inside you refuses to coast when you were born to climb. Most people want the reward without the resistance. They want the breakthrough without the breakdown. They want the strength without the struggle, but that's not how life works. Life doesn't give trophies for intentions. Life pays dividends to those who make deposits of effort when no one else is willing. And when you adopt the go-hard mindset, that's exactly what you do. You become the one who digs when others wait, who pushes when others pause, who finishes when others flinch, and in that process, something sacred is forged. Not just results, but resilience. Not just progress, but principle. You start to realize that fear is not your enemy, it's your compass. That resistance is not a wall, it's a doorway. That struggle is not a signal to stop, it's a sign you're exactly where you need to be. Because growth never feels like growth while it's happening. It feels like pressure, it feels like fatigue, it feels like uncertainty, but it only feels that way because you're shedding your former self. And transformation is violent like that. It kills your comfort, it burns your excuses, it drags your laziness into the light and says, you don't belong here anymore. That's the price, and you pay it gladly because what's waiting on the other side isn't comfort. It's capacity, it's conviction, it's competence, And once you've tasted what that feels like, once you've seen how much lies dormant inside of you, you'll never settle for mediocrity again. You'll never negotiate with weakness again. You'll never go soft again. This is a war between who you are and who you could be, and the only way to win is to go hard every day, not once, not when it's easy, not when you feel inspired, every day, especially when it's inconvenient, especially when it hurts, especially when it feels impossible, because those are the days that define you. Those are the moments that shape your story, and those are the choices that separate those who merely dream from those who do. So now you know, and now you choose, go hard or go nowhere. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you're trying to become. It's not flashy, it's not loud, it doesn't need praise or spotlight. It just shows up every single day when the excitement wears off, when motivation is dead, when the world feels like it's falling apart. That's when discipline speaks, and not with words, but with action. It doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't negotiate with fatigue. It doesn't ask for comfort. It exists for one reason, to keep you moving forward when everything else inside you wants to stop. Because emotion, while powerful, is unstable. It will betray you. One moment it pushes you forward. The next it convinces you to quit. Discipline doesn't waver. It doesn't ride the emotional roller coaster. It stays. It remains. It endures. What most people don't understand is that emotion is reactive. It responds to the moment. It responds to how you're treated, what results you're seeing, how tired you are, what other people think, or whether you're being rewarded. And that's a dangerous game to play. If your life is steered by how you feel in the moment, you will constantly shift direction, constantly reset, constantly start over. You'll never go deep enough to see what you're truly made of because the moment discomfort appears, emotion looks for a way out. Discipline looks for a way through. That's the difference. Discipline has a mission, emotion has a mood. Every great life is built on the back of structure. Not chaos, not inspiration, not hype, but structure. Routine, precision. It's waking up and doing what you said you do whether you feel like it or not. It's eating clean when junk is easier. It's reading when the world is distracted. It's showing up when no one else will. And every time you choose that path, you get stronger. Not just physically or mentally, but spiritually. Because you are teaching yourself that you are not a slave to your impulses. You are not controlled by how tired or bored or discouraged you feel. You are capable of choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. There's something sacred about showing up without applause, about grinding without guarantees. That's where self-respect is born. That's where real confidence is built. Confidence doesn't come from talent or popularity or good days. It comes from consistency, from keeping promises to yourself, from building evidence day by day that you are who you say you are. And the only way to do that is through discipline. You don't find confidence, you create it. And you create it in the dark, in the silence, in the spaces where emotion would have walked away, but discipline stayed behind and did the work. People often chase motivation. They think if they just feel right, they'll act right, but it's backwards. Action leads emotion, behavior shapes feeling. If you wait to feel inspired before you act, you'll act once a month and wonder why you're stuck. But if you act consistently, relentlessly, regardless of mood, you start to realize that emotion is a follower, not a leader, and that's the key. You cannot build a strong life on something that shifts with the weather. But you can build it on the repetition of discipline. You can stack brick after brick, even on bad days, even when it hurts, even when you're tired, and one day you look back and realize you've built something no storm can shake. The problem is we live in a world obsessed with feeling good. Everywhere you turn, there's a message telling you to prioritize comfort, indulge your cravings, avoid pain, avoid effort. Avoid anything that requires you to stretch. But that's poison, because nothing grows in comfort. Nothing valuable is built without effort. Every meaningful success you've ever witnessed was paid for in discomfort, and discipline is the currency. It's what you trade for strength, for peace, for growth, for clarity. Discipline is the willingness to do what is necessary even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's unpopular, even when it's inconvenient. There's a freedom in discipline that emotion will never give you. Emotion chains you to your current state. Discipline breaks you out. It sets you on a path towards something higher, something harder, something more aligned with who you could be if you just stopped letting how you feel in the moment determine what you do. You were not made to live at the mercy of your feelings. You were made to live by principle, by order, by vision, and vision doesn't move based on mood. Vision is rooted. Vision is disciplined. When you train yourself to act regardless of emotion, something shifts. You stop waiting for ideal conditions. You stop complaining about what's missing. You stop justifying mediocrity with stories about how hard life is. You begin to carry yourself differently. You walk with intention. You speak with purpose. You think with clarity, because you are no longer swayed by the chaos around you or the noise within you. You are anchored, and people notice. People who once dismissed you start asking how you did it. And the answer is simple. You stopped letting emotion call the shots and started letting discipline run the show. Every time you make a disciplined choice, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. It's not about perfection. You're going to fail. You're going to fall short. But if you show up again and again and again, that repetition begins to build identity. You stop identifying with the version of you that breaks promises and starts identifying with the one that follows through. Discipline shapes your perception of yourself, and the way you see yourself shapes the way you move through the world. It's not easy, but that's the point. If it were easy, it wouldn't be worth it. Discipline isn't supposed to feel natural. It's supposed to feel foreign. It's supposed to stretch you, to break you open and expose the weak parts so they can be rebuilt, so they can be fortified. That's what growth requires. You can't get stronger by doing what's comfortable. You get stronger by doing what's necessary, especially when you don't want to. The more you live with discipline, the less you crave external rewards. You stop chasing trophies. You stop begging for validation. Because you found something more powerful, inner strength. The kind of strength that can't be taken, can't be faked, can't be bought. The kind of strength that only comes from doing the hard things over and over until they become a part of who you are. Discipline is the foundation of freedom. It's the structure that supports every breakthrough. Without it, everything collapses under pressure. With it, you can carry burdens that used to break you. You can stay calm in storms that used to shake you. You can walk through darkness that used to paralyze you, and that kind of transformation doesn't come from feeling right. It comes from doing right. You are not your emotions. You are not your impulses. You are not your moods. You are your choices. You are your habits. You are your disciplines. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you take your power back. Because discipline doesn't depend on the weather. It doesn't change with opinions. It doesn't bend to weakness. It shows up every day, no matter what. And when you learn to do the same, there is nothing you can't build, nothing you can't overcome, and nothing you can't become. Responsibility is the first step toward power. It is the act of reaching down into the chaos of your own life and saying, "This is mine to fix." Not someone else's problem, not the world's fault, mine. And that is not a burden. It is a privilege, because the moment you take full responsibility for your life, you take back the authority to change it. Excuses are easy. Excuses are cheap. They are the default language of those who are not willing to face themselves. They sound intelligent. They sound justified. But they steal your strength. They poison your potential. And they rob you of the one thing you need to move forward: ownership. You can either explain your circumstances or you can rise above them. But you cannot do both. You cannot climb while complaining. You cannot move while blaming. You cannot grow while shifting responsibility. When you make excuses, what you are really doing is protecting your ego at the expense of your progress. You are trying to look good instead of becoming good. You are more concerned with appearances than with transformation. And that mindset will trap you in cycles of mediocrity, frustration, and self-sabotage. Taking responsibility is not about self-blame. It is not about shame. It is about power. It is about control. It is about saying, I may not have created this problem, but I will not wait for someone else to fix it. That's the mindset of a leader. That's the mindset of someone who understands that freedom is not given. It is earned through sweat, through choices, through discipline, through the relentless rejection of excuses in favor of action. Excuses are seductive. They comfort the weak, they validate inaction, they make failure feel acceptable. But responsibility demands more from you. It requires humility. It requires honesty. It requires you to look in the mirror and admit that you've contributed to your situation. Not because you're a failure, but because you're human. And being human means you have flaws. It means you've made mistakes. But it also means you have the power to change, to rebuild, to grow. And that power begins with a decision to stop outsourcing your problems and start owning your life. Nothing will change until you do. You can read every book, watch every video, attend every seminar, but if you do not take personal responsibility, it will all be wasted, because knowledge without application is useless. Inspiration without execution is hollow. The only thing that creates lasting change is responsibility. It is the fuel behind every transformation, the foundation under every success, the reason why some people rise and others don't. Not talent. Not luck, not circumstances, responsibility. When you take full ownership of your time, your choices, your energy, and your mindset, you stop waiting for opportunities and start creating them. You stop needing motivation because discipline becomes your engine. You stop being reactive and start becoming intentional. And in that shift, from passive to active, from excuse to action, you unlock the door to a different kind of life. One that is not ruled by fear, not limited by your past, and not determined by anyone but you. It's easy to point fingers. It's easy to say, I wasn't taught, or I wasn't given, or they didn't help me. But that line of thinking leads nowhere. It just keeps you chained to your circumstances. But when you say, it's on me, something shifts. You begin to see everything differently. Challenges become opportunities. Failures become lessons. Setbacks become setups, because you're no longer running from difficulty. You're using it. You're leveraging it. You're turning pressure into progress. The world will give you 1,000 reasons to make excuses. It will tell you it's too late. It will tell you it's too hard. It will tell you you're not enough. But you don't have to accept those voices. You can answer back with action, with discipline, with consistency. You can say, watch me, and you do it not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. Because deep down you know there's more inside you, more strength, more clarity, more potential, and responsibility is the only way to access it. It's not glamorous, it's not easy. Responsibility means waking up early when you'd rather sleep in. It means working when no one is watching. It means holding yourself to a higher standard even when others settle for less. It means doing the right thing even when it costs you. But that is where integrity is forged. That is where greatness is born. In the quiet moments of private responsibility that no one sees, that no one celebrates, but that shape everything. Excuses are comfortable because they absolve you of responsibility. But that comfort is an illusion, it's a trap. It feels safe, but it keeps you stuck. It feels right, but it leads you nowhere. Responsibility is uncomfortable at first. It forces you to confront yourself. But that discomfort is growth. That pressure is transformation. And the more you embrace it, the stronger you become. You cannot control everything. You cannot control the past. You cannot control what others do. But you can always control how you respond. You can always control how you think, what you say, and what you do, and that is enough. That is more than enough. Because if you own your response, you own your reality. And that ownership is the foundation of freedom. Responsibility is not a one-time choice. It is a lifestyle. It is a mindset. It is a daily decision to step up, to lead yourself, to take action even when it's hard. It means you stop waiting to feel ready. You stop waiting for the perfect conditions. You stop hoping someone will come and save you. And you start becoming the kind of person who saves themselves. That's real power. That's real freedom. Your excuses are not the truth. They are just stories. Stories you've repeated so many times that you've started to believe them. But you can write a new story, one built on responsibility, one built on action, one built on the relentless pursuit of growth. And that story starts now, not when life is easier, not when it's more convenient, but now, because the longer you wait, the harder it becomes. And the truth is, no one is coming to fix it. It's on you, and that's not a curse. That's the key. Because if it's on you, then you can change it. If it's on you, then you are not powerless. You are powerful. Responsibility doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. It doesn't eliminate the struggle. It gives you the strength to overcome it. It doesn't erase the pain. It gives the pain purpose. And that's what separates those who rise from those who remain. The willingness to stop hiding behind excuses and start stepping into ownership. When you stop explaining and start executing, everything changes. The world opens up to those who stop asking for permission and start taking responsibility. And if you want to build a life that matters, if you want to become someone who can handle adversity with grace and lead others with strength, there is no other way. You must take responsibility. You must own it all. Even the parts that aren't your fault, because that's where your power begins, that's where your freedom lies, and that's the only place transformation is truly possible. Growth is not born in comfort. It is forged in suffering. It is carved out of the difficult moments that push you beyond what you thought you could endure. Pain introduces you to yourself. It tears away the surface level illusions and forces you to confront what you really are. It shows you your weakness, not to shame you, but to challenge you, to tell you quietly and without apology, this is where you begin. Most people avoid suffering, they run from it, they try to numb it, distract from it, pretend it isn't there. But suffering, when embraced with purpose, becomes the path to evolution. It strips away everything unnecessary and leaves behind only what is real, what is strong, what is true. There's a certain clarity that suffering brings. In the midst of pain, all the noise fades, the lies you've told yourself can't survive under pressure. The stories you've repeated about your limits fall apart when you're in the fire, because suffering does not allow you to be fake. It demands something raw, it demands your attention, and in that discomfort, if you're willing to face it and not escape it, you begin to grow, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. The suffering doesn't have to make sense in the moment. Often it won't. It'll feel unfair. It'll feel brutal. It'll feel like everything inside of you is breaking, and in a way it is, but sometimes the breaking is necessary. The old version of you, the one that couldn't carry responsibility, the one that cracked under pressure, the one that looked for shortcuts, has to die for the new one to emerge. Suffering is the process that burns away the weakness you've been protecting. It pulls your character to the surface. You don't build strength in theory. You build it in the weight room of reality, where your excuses don't matter and your results don't lie. Every time you hurt but keep going, you're proving something, not to others, but to yourself. You're proving that you're more than your fear, that your will is stronger than your resistance, that your purpose is deeper than your pain. And with each step through that suffering, you change, not just in what you can do, but in who you are. You gain something that can't be taught. You earn something that can't be given. You become someone that even you didn't know you had inside. The world sells the idea that comfort is the goal. That happiness is found in ease. That peace is found in escape. But that's a lie. True peace is found on the other side of chaos. Real strength is built in the furnace. Real growth requires discomfort. You don't evolve by staying safe. You evolve by stepping into the fire, knowing it will hurt, knowing it will burn, but doing it anyway because what's on the other side is worth it. Growth isn't supposed to feel good. It's supposed to change you. You don't get to choose the pain that comes. Life will bring it. Unexpected loss, disappointment, failure, betrayal, setbacks, but you do get to choose your response. You do get to decide whether that pain becomes a wall or a doorway. Whether you let it crush you or you let it refine you. That's the moment that matters. The moment when everything in you says quit, but something deeper says keep going. That's where growth is born, in that second wind. In that choice to suffer forward instead of retreat backward. There's a reason the strongest people you know have scars. There's a reason they walk differently, speak differently, move differently. it's because they've been through something. They've faced something that almost broke them, but didn't, and in surviving it, they became something more, something solid, something untouchable. That kind of strength isn't taught in books. It's not found in comfort. It's earned one painful step at a time, and no one can take it from you once it's yours. Suffering forces you to reassess what matters. It shrinks your world to what's essential. When you're in pain, you stop pretending. You stop trying to impress. You stop chasing meaningless things, and you begin to discover purpose. Not because the pain disappears, but because it focuses you. It humbles you. It opens your eyes to the deeper truths that comfort kept hidden. The truth about your capacity, the truth about your calling, the truth about how much you've been holding back. When you look back at your life, the moments you grew the most were not the easy ones. They were the times when everything seemed impossible, when you were lost, when you didn't know how you would make it. But you did, and in making it through, you weren't the same. Something had shifted. Something had matured, something had awakened. That's the gift of suffering. It awakens what comfort puts to sleep. It calls out greatness by making the lesser parts of you too painful to keep. No one wants to suffer. But the ones who are willing to suffer for something meaningful are the ones who rise. They are the ones who become unshakable. Because once you've made it through real pain, once you've bled for your growth, once you've suffered for your standards, you no longer fear discomfort. You no longer run from hardship. You no longer let weakness vote. Because you've seen what it takes, and more importantly, you've seen what it gives. The reward of suffering is not just strength. It's perspective. It's gratitude. It's depth. When you've suffered, you appreciate peace more deeply. You value time more seriously. You respect effort more fully, and you no longer take the small moments for granted. Because you know what it feels like to be broken. You know what it means to crawl when you can't walk, and that memory of pain, of struggle, of silent battles stays with you. It shapes your values. It refines your priorities. It makes you more human. You don't have to enjoy suffering. That's not the point. But you do have to respect it. Because if you run from it, you run from your own evolution. But if you face it, if you carry it, if you walk through it, you become the kind of person who cannot be easily shaken. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. And strength built through suffering is the kind of strength that lasts, the kind that endures, the kind that changes everything. Consistency is the language of greatness. It's not loud, it doesn't boast, it doesn't beg for attention. It simply shows up over and over again. Through good days, through bad days, through silence, through storms, through setbacks. It becomes a rhythm. A code, a standard that refuses to lower itself for convenience or emotion. It's not about how hard you go once. It's about how long you're willing to go without stopping, because talent fades, motivation disappears. Excitement dies, but consistency endures, and in that endurance everything changes. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they're inconsistent. They start strong. They speak big. They make promises to themselves, but they never follow through long enough to see results. Because consistency doesn't give quick rewards. It demands patience. It demands time. It demands the willingness to look average while you're becoming excellent. And that's where most break, because they want instant. They want applause before they've earned the skill. But real mastery doesn't care about your impatience. It responds only to commitment. Relentless consistency is not glamorous. It's not exciting. It's often boring. It's repetitive. It's routine. It's the same thing, done with the same focus, even when nobody's clapping, even when the results are invisible, even when the doubt creeps in and whispers, "This isn't working." But you keep going anyway. Because you understand that consistency is the compound interest of self-respect. Every day you show up, you add value. Every repetition, every rep, every disciplined choice. It all stacks, slowly, silently. But eventually it explodes, and when it does, people call it overnight success. But you know better. You were building that result when no one was watching. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a consistent one. You don't need to know every step. You need to take the next one, over and over again, and every time you do, you create momentum. You create rhythm. You train your mind to stop waiting for inspiration and start relying on commitment. Because consistency turns work into instinct, it transforms discipline into identity, and identity is what carries you when motivation vanishes. The world will always praise the flash, the highlight reel, the breakthrough moment, but behind every highlight is 100 quiet mornings where someone chose the work over the excuse, chose structure over chaos, chose repetition over randomness. That's what relentless consistency looks like. It's unshakable not because it's dramatic, but because it's dependable. It doesn't need a crowd. It doesn't need praise. It simply needs purpose, and purpose, when married to consistency, is the most powerful force in human behavior. When you build your life on consistency, you remove emotion from the equation. You don't ask, do I feel like it? You ask, is it necessary? You don't wait for the mood. You create it. You don't hope for the results. You earn them. You eliminate the drama. You remove the unpredictability because your standard is fixed. Your mission is clear, and your actions are aligned. And in that alignment, there is power. There is clarity. There is progress that cannot be faked. Relentless consistency teaches you that small steps done daily are stronger than massive leaps done occasionally. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do the right things consistently. The workout, the reading, the journaling, the reps, the focus, the effort, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because the breakthrough is not in the easy days. It's in the ones where everything in you wants to stop. But you don't. You keep moving forward, and that choice changes you. Most people wait for the feeling of drive, the feeling of energy, the feeling of confidence, but consistency flips that. It says, show up first, the feeling will follow. It's backwards from how the world operates, but it works because action creates emotion, repetition creates confidence, movement creates momentum. You don't think your way into results. You act your way into them, and you act again, and again. And again, relentless consistency is not about never missing a day. It's about never quitting the path. You will fail, you will fall short, but you get back up immediately. No negotiation, no pity party. No spiraling, you reset, you realign, you recommit. Because consistency is not perfection. It's resilience. It's staying in the fight long after others have left. And in that persistence, you find progress that compounds in ways that no one sees coming. Your future is hidden in your routine. Your destiny is wrapped inside your habits. Your greatness is not a moment. It's a lifestyle, and the only way to uncover it is through consistent action. You don't become elite by accident. You become elite by doing the right things so many times that the wrong ones lose their pull. You rewire your system. You shift your identity, until what was once hard becomes natural, until what was once unnatural becomes who you are. That's why consistency is everything, because it's not just about achievement, it's about becoming. It's not just about reaching goals, it's about transforming into someone who doesn't need goals to move with excellence. You raise your baseline, you elevate your floor, and soon, what used to take maximum effort becomes your minimum standard. That's power, that's freedom, that's what consistency gives you. It won't feel fast. It won't feel glamorous, it'll feel hard, it'll feel quiet. But if you stay with it, if you keep stacking the days, building the habits, showing up on schedule instead of on feeling, you will change, your life will change. Because consistency doesn't lie, it delivers, not always immediately, but always eventually, and when it does, it speaks for you. It shows in your results, it echoes in your presence. It becomes who you are. You don't need more inspiration. You need more repetition. You don't need more hype. You need more habits. Because the life you want is not built in bursts. It's built in bricks. Daily, focused, deliberate bricks. And the hands that build them are not led by feeling. They're led by discipline, and discipline is led by consistency. And consistency, when practiced relentlessly, will build a foundation so solid that nothing can shake it. Not time, not fear, not failure, nothing. Because when you are consistent, you are inevitable.